for the Georgia defense. Georgia on the mountaintop. Demons be gone, and the drought is over. National champions at long last.
Well, I didn't get a full taste, but I can tell you this. There's going to be some property torn up in Indianapolis tonight, baby!
That was then when Georgia won the Natty, and this is now G-Day, the spring game that resets things for another run to the top. Look at these appreciative fans here outside Sanford Stadium. They're still celebrating the national championship that they endured 41 years of heartbreak for, and now knowing so much next-level talent is ready to blossom, and we're going to watch it. Checking in and moving forward. So much about spring is about the mental approach of finding your identity, of getting back to the starting block. And with as much turnover as they've had to this roster, I think it guards against complacency. You got a lot of players out there that are hungry to get after it. You see the format we're using, Greg, as we will have 4 15-minute quarters, running clock until we get to the last 4 minutes of each half. But that was a conversation we had with Kirby yesterday about, and he mentions the NFL draft. You're going to see loads of dogs being called at the NFL draft. But having that hunger, because a lot of these players weren't the ones out there beating Bama.
But you also have to make sure those young players understand that winning doesn't come just because you put on the Georgia uniform. You have to do what it takes in the days leading up to the game in order to be successful on Saturday. So it's a balance between understanding those guys are hungry, but also they must understand that winning is earned by your preparation.
Kenny McIntosh on the return to open up this game. Kirby, year number 7, became the 5th SEC coach to win a national championship at his alma mater. Stetson Bennett, coming off the offensive MVP performance in the national championship game, of course, had the big fourth quarter touchdown passes, that strike to A.D. Mitchell and then Brock Bowers. And now here he is, 24 years old, 6th season of college football for Stetson Bennett. And he will complete his first pass of the afternoon. And it goes to A.D. Mitchell, a fine-looking 6'4" sophomore. So, Greg, so much of the conversation about Stetson Bennett has focused in on what's the next step for him. You win a national championship, and of course, there's still room for improvement. What do you believe the next step is?
Well, I think just taking complete control from a leadership standpoint. I mean, we know physically what he is. He's accurate with the football. He's creative with his legs. But now the next step is, because he is the unquestioned starter, he now has to hold every other person accountable, and he has to be the alpha dog from a personality standpoint on the offensive side of the football. So I think that's the next step. Physically, can he get much better? I don't know. We'll find out. But I know mentally, and taking control, that's the big part for him that hasn't happened before, because he's never come into the season as the unquestioned guy.
Ingram Dawkins with the tackle moments ago, so it's a 3rd down and 4 for Bennett. Stetson with time, he lofts it, and downfield is McIntosh out of the backfield. He is so fast and dangerous in the open field. And you remember a year ago, James Cook played a role for them that was critical as a receiving back. That is what McIntosh could do for this team this year.
Yeah, and a great job, too, by Stetson Bennett throwing it up and over the top. You see a running back isolated on the linebacker in coverage on a deep ball, 3rd and medium, very accurate dropping in the bucket. If you referenced those running backs last year, yeah, they lose some capable pieces in Zamir White and James Cook, but Kenny McIntosh and Kendall Milton are certainly extremely talented. There shouldn't be much drop-off at that position.
33 yards on that catch from McIntosh, and now he bounces it off right tackle before he is ridden out by Dan Jackson, the safety. You switch jersey numbers, and Dogs fans saying, hold on, I thought Dan Jackson was 47. Dan Jackson's wearing 17 come this season.
A lot of notable pieces missing on that defense, but we'll talk about that throughout the course of the game. A lot of the attention today, though, will go to the offense. Will this group in 2022 have to shoulder a little bit more of the load. It's highly unlikely that their defense will allow just 10 points a game. So there might be more games where you have to get into the upper 30s, low 40s to win. Is this offense capable? That's all I'll be paying attention to today.
Here's Kendall Milton, start and stop as he jump cuts to the outside, and he will have the first down. So a heavy dose of McIntosh and Milton on this opening drive with Stetson Bennett. The All-America's a true freshman a year ago, Brock Bowers. Third down and 9 to the end zone and a touchdown as Stetson Bennett gets off to a good start as he connects with Eric Gilbert, who was the star tight end his freshman year at LSU, transferred, didn't see time last year as he stepped away from football, but has answered the bell, as Kirby Smart has said, and he is a dangerous weapon as a big target.
And that is a really nice throw from Stetson Bennett, right on time. You understand your tight ends are the answer here in the red zone. He throws it right on his face mask in between two defenders. And the big-time promising recruit that started his career at LSU and has found a home here in Athens is on the board early here throughout the course of the fall.
Carson Beck now at quarterback. Beck, play action, wants to take a shot deep. And what a way to start things to Arian Smith. Carson Beck, third year in the program. Kirby has discussed how much growth he has shown, and a big strike to start his G-Day.
And I love the movement in the pocket, too. I mean, sometimes when a young quarterback feels that presence in the pressure, they escape, they leave, they move, they turn into an athlete. That's not what Carson Beck did right there. He composure, slid to his left, delivered a strike downfield, now has him knocking on the door.
Dejon Edwards in the backfield. He will get the carry. Kept his balance and in. So Carson Beck with a 60-yard strike downfield to Arian Smith. One handoff to Dejon Edwards, who has a promising future, and just like that, it's a touchdown. I mentioned all three quarterbacks in that conversation we had with Cedric Van Grant. We saw Bennett come down with the opening drive for a touchdown. We saw Beck with the quick strike, and now here is Brock Vandagriff, redshirt freshman from Bogart, Georgia. Kenny McIntosh in the backfield with him, and quickly out of the backfield is McIntosh. McIntosh, who had the 33-yard catch on that opening drive.
Who ends up as the backup quarterback for Stetson this fall?
Mishandled that shotgun snap. It bounces back into his arms, but unable to connect there with Marcus Rosemy-Jack Saint. So it'll be fourth down. Beck composed in the pocket, sidearms it out of the backfield to Clark. And Clark is able to sprint ahead to the 39-yard line and move the chains as he goes for 20 yards there.
And this was nice, too. I mean, you look at Beck. It's actually pretty well covered. He sees the linebacker coming out underneath it and throws the intended wide receiver away from the underneath presence. That's good awareness and good field vision by the quarterback. Also a nice job changing his arm angle, looking like Stafford, dropping it below the hip, throwing a little sidearm action.
Pulls it from Clark, and the in cut gets it complete again to Smith. That looks very solid, very comfortable managing things.
But could very easily fill those pieces in front of him.
Third down and 9. Beck going to take a shot downfield. There was some contact. No flag on the play as he was looking for Blaylock.
But Kirby basically admitted it. Said, look, man, we're not going to be as dynamic up front as we were last year. How could you be? It'd be almost, you have a generationally good defensive line. To replace those guys without any drop-off is asking far too much. Now, how do you overcompensate for those losses up front? One, is your offense has to potentially score more points. Two, your second-level defenders better be lights out, but those guys are young as well. And three, in the secondary, you better be locked down. Well, it's coming. It's just a matter of time for that young man, and a year from now, we'll be talking about him on Kuiper and McShay's big board.
Bennett on first down. That is batted right at the line of scrimmage. As Javon Bullard got up in the face of Stetson Bennett. Very athletic defensive back is Bullard from Midgeville, Georgia.
Nolan Smith's back, Robert Beal's back. Those edge defenders, there shouldn't be any drop-off. If anything, there should be advancement from where they were a year ago.
Bennett, downfield, looking for McConkey. And that was coming down like the other end of a rainbow arc, but Kelee Ringo had coverage on Ladd McConkey. Kelee Ringo, who put the finishing touches on the college football playoff national title game, had the pick-6 interception return for a touchdown off of Bryce Young and Bama.
And this ball thrown just a little bit too much to the outside as Kelee Ringo times it well. Maybe a touch early, but a great job by the outstanding corner. The big question mark in the secondary is who's going to line up opposite Kelee Ringo, because we know he has one side locked down with his impressive play from last year.
And a great visit with Kelee Ringo yesterday. Here's 3rd down and 10. Bennett, good strike, and that was nearly picked off as it goes incomplete there. And it was Tresman Marshall who defended that. Katie, we visited with Kelee Ringo yesterday, and we said, how many times have you watched the pick-6? How many times have you gone back and pressed play and watched what you did against Bama? He lit up. Big smile out of him, right, Katie?
Huge smile. He said that sometimes he's just scrolling through Twitter and Instagram and it just randomly pops up, like the SEC network might repost it, so he can't get away from seeing it. And then when he goes around Athens, he said if people recognize him without his helmet on, he says he gets stopped all the time, and he loves talking to fans about it, something that we will remember, obviously, for the next 100 years in college football.
And it's so funny because every player has a play or two that just stands the test of time. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. This one in particular, obviously good. As you could see, Kelee Ringo, I asked him yesterday too, he's like, man, hey dude, once you intercepted that, as you see Kirby, he's saying, get down. No, you're not going down, not with the ball in my hands in the national championship game. But the whole sideline asking him to declare himself down so they can kneel on it and strike up the fight song for a national championship. But he'll be going around and seeing Bulldog clubs all throughout the city in Georgia, at Athens and Atlanta, you name it. He'll go speak for the rest of his life. And they'll talk to him and say, hey, man, I remember that play in the national championship. Just one that will live on forever.
By the way, what a humble and modest kid. I visited with him yesterday. He's just and everything he's got going for himself. He's a big guy, 6'2", 205. Right. He's going to be a dream.
Prototypical corner. Exactly what
NFL
you want.
Scouts, right?
Right. He can play zone or man. Very physical in the run game as well. Not afraid to contact, which is exactly what you want.
Now Beck getting extended time here with Savon Clark in the backfield. Play action as he boots out of it and then drags it across to get the completion to Oscar Delp. Oscar Delp, one of the fine-looking early enrollee true freshmen, as if they don't have enough depth of big athletes playing tight end. Here's 6'5", 225-pound Oscar Delp as we come to the end of quarter number 1 in the annual G-Day spring game, 7-7 game here in Athens. When we return, the changes on the coaching staff and how Greg thinks that impacts things here with Georgia. Don't go anywhere.
And he has worked his way up. Eventually, after 3 years, got the graduate assistant gig, then went to the player development side. He was in the weight room, working with walk-ons on the weight room back in 2008. This guy's self-made and has seen it from every possible level, so he knows exactly what you need to do. He's been with Kirby Smart for 15 years, and he's Kirby's right-hand man. Just so happy for his opportunity, and he's going to do an amazing job here in Athens.
2nd and 6 as Beck gets it complete to Delp, and Delp able to add more to it. This is exactly what we talked about when we say the athleticism that they have at tight end. This was the number 2 rated tight end in the country, early enrolls, and is flashing this spring.
And you talked to the offensive coordinator, Tim Monk, and he said, look, we might have, if we wanted to, we could probably run 14 personnel, which is 1 running back, 4 tight ends. Put it this way, nobody does that, except for maybe Georgia this fall, which would be a matchup nightmare for defensive coordinators.
Beck tried to go to the outside to Morissette, Denylon Morissette, another good-looking true freshman, but it's incomplete.
Oh yeah, you know you put that.
Trayvon, how good is Jalen Carter?
Oh, he's a force to be reckoned with. He's one of the ones you need to be on the lookout for. Great player, great young man.
Who else in that room do you think is going to really step up and fill the absence of what I'm standing next to right now?
I say all them boys as long as they wait till their time come, but it's a lot of great young men in that one room coming out.
Vontae, how does it feel being back here in Sanford Stadium?
It's amazing, man. I ain't been here in a minute. First time been here since like some months, and just being here, I just feel the energy. I feel like getting back on the field. Just missing, like just watching them out here just make me want to go out there right now and have fun with it. But definitely it's amazing to be back.
What's the last few months been like for you guys going through the combine, going through the draft process? How's it gone for you, Trayvon?
Brock Vandagriff back at quarterback. We've seen Bennett. We've seen Beck. We just saw Podlesny cap that last drive with a 24-yard field goal. And now Vandagriff as he's trying to get going. See what he does on 3rd and 4. As he is able to get it to Mitchell. And Mitchell grabs the sideline and tiptoes his way past midfield to the 43-yard line. A.D. Mitchell, who had the go-ahead score in the national title game, had that 40-yard catch, moves the chains here for Brock Vandagriff.
And a good move in the pocket, just a little bit behind A.D. Mitchell, but a good job by the outstanding wide receiver, flipping his hips, making a difficult catch, and continuing his forward momentum. He made that look so easy. Y'all don't realize how hard that is. Any one of us goes out there, tries to catch a ball thrown on our rear hip as you're running full speed the other direction. 99 times out of 100, you're going to face plant. He made it look easy and continued on with the forward momentum.
Milton is gobbled up, and that was Jalen Carter, who we have been raving about. Jalen Carter, the big 6'3", 310-pounder, who is being tabbed as the next great one, who looks the part of a future top 10 pick.
He said, I didn't have high expectations for him, just everything that he's gone through, but he's been a pleasant surprise. And now, guys, he's down to 265, and he's running extremely well for that size.
Jamon Dumas-Johnson driving back McIntosh.
And more on Dumas Johnson in a minute, but Eric Gilbert really needs to be about 240. I mean, he's so athletic. He's got great length, but if he can shed another 15, 20, 25 pounds, we're talking about a game changer. You have him and Brock Bowers on opposite sides. What does the defense do? What do you cover them with? These guys can run like wide receivers, and yet they can block you at the end of the line of scrimmage. So if he can shed a little bit more weight over the summer, which should be easy to do, it gets warm here in Athens, he'll be in great shape come fall and be in a great position to contribute a lot of significant snaps.
Jared Zirkle on to attempt the 36-yard field goal, and he puts it through. So Podlesny has had a successful field goal. Zirkle has now had a successful field goal, and we are all tied up as we continue on between the hedges.
Georgians just weren't there. Now I think that gap is starting to close just a little bit with some of the pieces that Georgia has and some of the young players that will continue to grow and develop.
That's Warren Brinson, who surges into the backfield with the tackle of Edwards. Get back to that conversation, as I think a great point of analysis on the wide receivers, as it's a 3rd down and 12 for Carson Beck. In the face of pressure, downfield, and good competition for the ball is hauled in by Jackson Meeks. So here is the sophomore out of Phoenix City, Alabama, who now gets an opportunity and comes up with a contested catch here. In coverage was Nyland Green.
Yeah, great coverage too. Just strong hands there from Meeks. You referenced it. I mean, just great concentration, finish. Does Brock Bowers make a living blocking stretch zone? No. But he can if you ask him to.
That is Dom Blaylock with the reception that'll set up a 1st and goal. Blaylock's had a nice spring, had 2 touchdown catches in a scrimmage 2 weeks ago.
And it's so good to see him healthy, because he was a guy a few years back when we called this game that Kirby Smart was so excited about him coming in. They said he's the guy. I mean, we think he's got a chance to be a true number 1 wide receiver in this offense. Of course, had the unfortunate injury, but now continuing to get a little bit more healthy, and his best football is likely in front of him.
Carson Beck is having a very strong first half here. Dejon Edwards now keeps his footing and takes it in again. He has been in the shadow of what has been an overstocked running back room, and now you can see what his future could be.
Feels like Georgia will play 10 backs if they have to. They're not afraid as they are definitely a running back by committee group and have been for quite a while. But a nice job. That's twice now that Edwards has gotten around the edge on the right side and found Pater. A true game changer in the middle of that defense, whether it be Nakobe Dean, Roquan Smith, you name it. So can they adequately replace those pieces? We're going to find out, but they're going to have some youth that are trying to fill some very big shoes. But To'o ran that style of defense under Jeremy Pruitt at Tennessee, so it can be done, but it's extremely rare.
Brett Seether gets the completion on 3rd down, as that'll move the chains as he's out to the 48-yard line. An 18-yard completion, Bennett to Seether.
Potentially.
3rd down, able to pick up the pressure. Out of the backfield is Milton. Milton keeps his balance and is into the end zone. Touchdown, Kendall Milton. 32 yards from Stetson Bennett.
How about Milton, too? The guy that has drawn comparisons for years to Todd Gurley, some of those big body backs in the past, has had a difficult time these first couple years staying healthy, but you see the potential and the growth right there. A guy that was not real comfortable coming out of the backfield as a pass catcher. There he reels it in on 3rd down, and you see the finish, just running over defenders and finding the end zone.
6'1", 220. He's got speed, can do that out of the backfield. And now 2-minute drill opportunity for Carson Beck to add to his total today, as he was looking for Blaylock again, and it goes incomplete. And there was a flag down at the end of that play as the coverage came from Jalen Kennedy.
You could see just a little contact, just turned over the wrong shoulder, really. I don't love the call, but it's a good job taking a shot by Beck in one-on-one, as Will Muschamp's probably just as stumped as I am about that pass interference call.
Will Muschamp and Glenn Schumann now the co-defensive coordinators after Dan Lanning had the 3-year run, all the success, the national championship as a defensive coordinator, and is off to take the Oregon job. And dragging across is Delp, and Beck able to connect with him.
I like this kid.
Oh, man, there's a lot to like.
Give me some of 4. I like this dude a lot. He is smooth, man. Not quite as lumbering as Bowers, but moves with a real ease for a guy that's that big.
Beck again, really composed in the pocket as he goes underneath the Jackson Meeks. So getting an opportunity for Carson Beck here.
Here early for the black defense.
Here's an opportunity for the defense on 3rd and 10. That was thrown short and underneath. He was trying to find the true freshman from Stone Mountain, Georgia, Denylon Morissette. Coverage came from Nyland Green. It'll be a 49-yard attempt for Jack Podlesny. And it's off to the right. No good there for Pod.
I mean, and doesn't look it. By the way, Jordan Davis looks like he's 282, and he's 340. I mean, you just can't say. I hate to continue to look back because those guys can't help Georgia in 2022. We're about optimism and springing it forward. Yeah, he can, as you see Nolan Smith coming around the edge. But so I think right now, based on the offenses they saw, it'd be hard to find a more impressive group.
Good ball that time by Stetson Bennett. On 2nd and 11, flag comes in at the end, but that was a strike to Kearis Jackson. Jackson, the elder statesman of this wide receiver room.
And you might get it's a really good throw here. It might be, I don't know if it's a targeting. Oh, it is targeting. As you can see, kind of unfortunate there, but yeah. The good news is, if this targeting call is confirmed, he won't have to miss the second half, the first half of the opening game against Oregon.
There's been a lot of talk about that this offseason with Bennett. Inside the 10, back shoulder, incomplete, looking for Rosemy Jackson. Coverage came from William Poole. William Poole, who played that nickel corner
Poole will be interesting because he was kind of thrust into a difficult spot last year. You know, late in the year, all of a sudden he becomes the starter at the star spot. But they like his ability to be able to play outside, too. Are they going to play him at the position he succeeded at so nicely last year, or do they slide him outside? So he's a guy that's had a nice spring and one that his versatility could really help them here in the fall.
2nd and 10 for Stetson. Batted at the line of scrimmage, and then Stetson was smart enough to say, let me bat that again. Nobody's getting after it. That was Bill Norton who got up and put a hand in the face of Stetson Bennett. And listen, we talk about the physical measurables of Stetson Bennett. The other two guys who have played today, they're more the part, right, of the 6'4" pocket passer. Bennett's 5'10", 5'11", but finds a way.
Yeah, and the quarterback position has evolved. I mean, you no longer have to check the measurable boxes. There are starting quarterbacks in the league that are smaller than Stetson Bennett. But in a perfect world, yeah, you'd love to have that size. The guy makes plays, though, and at one point last year, he had more explosive runs than any other player on this Georgia roster. So acknowledge the great things he does, not focus on the things in which he might come up just a little bit short.
Great things like that. Able to find Marcus Rosemy-Jack Saint on 3rd down and move the chains. Managing the last 20 seconds here of this first half. Quickly to the line and now quickly to the end zone where it's incomplete as he was trying to connect with A.D. Mitchell. 17 seconds remain.
That was a good rep right there. Don't waste hardly any time. You get it up, it's either a touchdown or the clock's going to stop. I love that rep. It's a good heads-up spot. It's no different than spiking the football, except you might actually get a touchdown out of it. So a good job identifying coverage, finding the one-on-one, and giving it an us-or-no-one type of throw.
Enacting the part of a 24-year-old in his 6th season of college football, showing that experience and maturity of managing things and good leadership. And now a 2nd and 10 with 17 seconds remaining here in this first half. Bennett with time to the end zone, and the flag comes in as he was looking for the big target, Eric Gilbert, tight end transfer, who wasn't available for the team last year, but has been showing what he's all about this spring.
Yeah, how about this? Little bunch formation, perfect throw. High and on time. Gilbert just can't get that left hand up, but the reason why he couldn't is because he was getting tugged at by one of these Georgia defenders.
Javon Bullard was locked up with Gilbert.
It's good ball placement there by Stetson, too. Those bunch formations takes a lot to get comfortable with the timing because there's so much trash. Guys are running into each other. The timing is difficult to get a feel for. That time it presented itself nicely, and Stetson threw it on time and on target. More bunch here. I love this formation. Bama ran the heck out of it last year. Good to see Georgia in it. Hopefully they major in it this fall.
Looking Gilbert's way, and that'll leave 8 seconds remaining as Gilbert was matched up one-on-one with Dan Jackson. He was split out to the left side.
I love that right there, though. That right there is the New England Patriots. You put Rob Gronkowski to the left-hand side. If he's in one-on-one, I throw fade. Then to the right side, you have a bunch. And in that bunch, you get to feature Julian Edelman. Or, in that particular case, Ladd McConkey or Kearis Jackson, whoever it ended up being. So if you don't like your one-on-one on the other side, you got a bunch formation, get a little rub, and you're more often than not going to strike up the fight song. I love that formation in this part of the field.
Last 8 seconds. Shallow cross underneath, incomplete. He was trying to get it to McIntosh, but he threw it behind Kenny McIntosh. Stetson Bennett brought this team down the field. He's looking to cap it with a touchdown there.
And this has got to be a walk-in. McIntosh takes his eyes off the football just a little bit. Usually right there, we see that big presence, that Red Sea part. You'd think that McIntosh is going to kind of sit it down, throttle it down right there. And I think Stetson Bennett probably anticipated that. Instead, McIntosh continued running inward. The ball thrown just behind him, it resulted in an incompletion. So he might have just been a little bit off the mark. The throw, probably not too bad, but I think the route, in a perfect world with that much space, he would have just throttled it down, and he would have walked into the end zone.
Timeout is used here with 3 seconds remaining. The guy who had one FBS scholarship offer coming out of high school. It was Middle Tennessee State. A guy who was the scout team quarterback and then transferred to play JUCO ball, and all he did was put his arms around this program, always believe, and just delivered a national championship. Stetson Bennett. And that ball is intercepted, and that is how things will end in this first half as Bullard comes up with the INT in the end zone, 17-17. After one half of our spring game here in Athens. Saw some of the young talent really step up. Heck of a first half from the backup quarterback Carson Beck. And this crowd just so appreciative of what this team has delivered to them. The rings are out there, Greg. They got their rings, all the shiny gold and diamonds. We'll take a quick break and come back with more as we continue on from Sanford Stadium, the annual G-Day Spring Game, 17 apiece here in Athens.
Enjoyed it. Good competition, a lot of effort, toughness out there. I like that part. I like the guys competing.
When you see your young quarterbacks, particularly Brock and Carson, what do you want to see from them when operating both 2-minute and regular down and distance offense?
Just that. I want to see them operate the offense efficiently, fix mistakes. I got the wrong signal. I got him lined up, change the protection when we need to against looks. I just want to see them operate the offense. That's the most important thing to me.
You know what I love, Coach? I saw y'all call pressures, blitzes. A lot of times you come see a spring game, y'all see vanilla offense and defense. Not with y'all. Y'all are throwing the kitchen sink at the quarterbacks. What does that do for their preparation?
Well, I think it makes like a real game, right? I mean, anything we've done, they've seen it on tape. They've done it before.
Blaylock double pass. Don Blaylock winds it up downfield, and that ball is intercepted. That was Nyland Green with the pickoff.
They both get a trick play, and I guess that was their trick play. Wasn't pretty.
So right there, is that Blaylock's one opportunity? You get one chance to throw the football, and that was it? That's a miss?
Just like you did at Alabama. That one chance you got in their whole career to throw it. If you don't throw it well, you're done.
Yeah, if that thing hangs in the air.
One offense against the one defense. Little formation in the boundary here, Greg, one of your favorites. You didn't have that. Makes the defense declare a little bit.
Stetson Bennett in stride. Here is Jackson. As Kearis Jackson with an explosive play.
Yeah, right there. I'm surprised, Coach. I think you'd have a quick whistle normally being a defensive guy, but not there. Letting them play.
Let them play. Throw that ball around, Stets. That's a really nice ball. Great touch on the ball. 3-deep zone. He hit the over route. Did a good job.
And bouncing back from the interception at the end of the half, too. I mean, the maturity that Stetson Bennett shows, not letting the previous play affect him for the next play. What does that say about his growth as a player?
Well, that happens. Quarterback's got to be able to bounce back anytime from that. We probably would have kicked a field goal in that situation. I wanted to see him play it out and made a nice throw there.
Coach, a lot of new faces along the defensive line, but one that's not new, but maybe in a new role is Jalen Carter. What does he bring to the front of this defense? Well,
he brings a pass rush. Which is the biggest thing we need is pass rush, and he can do that. He can generate it. He can compete. He's had a really good spring. He's starting to lead that group a little bit with those other personalities gone. He's been kind of asserted himself.
When you're trying to find that assertiveness, and you've kind of been a backup or a rotational guy, where do you find your voice as far as the accountability for your teammates?
Well, I think you get it through the off-season workouts, the conditioning program, how you practice. If you're out there being lazy, not putting good stuff on tape, you can't very well be a leader, and I think he does a great job of doing that.
What do you think we got here?
Well, what we got here? We got a loaded set. Oh, draw or fade. One-on-one outside. Quarterback got the option there. Counting them.
All right, plus territory here, Coach. 3rd and 10. Is it 4-down territory?
It probably is. That's what we're thinking. I'd like to get half of it here before I do it. But
Four-man rush. Steps up.
We got a flag and a sack. You might not want to get on that.
Yeah, we'll make sure that Jones.
I didn't give him the sack there. Let's see the replay. What do you think it was a sack, Greg?
Coach, I'm a quarterback. That was never a sack. He's out of there.
Oh, PI. Every quarterback's best friend.
Too high for McConkey.
Tell you what, that secondary, that was great pursuit by Chris Smith, Coach, closing that gap in the cover 2.
That's exactly right. He was playing quarters there and had the two-guy vertical there. Did a nice job cleaning it up. Get a quick replay of this one. That's a good throw by Stetson. Put it on his body. Great break by Chris.
Really nice break. How about the offensive line? Held up so far, Coach, and done a pretty good job. When they have run it, not much, but there have been some good holes up front for the offensive line.
I think you're always trying to create that identity. Unfortunately, they don't get much of a chance in this one, so it should be good here. We got one-on-one outside. Stetson knows it. So let's see where he gets to go with it. Oh, got held out there. Flag, got him. Can't cheat and win, baby. Hey. Gotta be kidding me. Looked like he was throwing him away.
Look what I found.
You get out here with me and they score a touchdown throwing the ball. Right up your alley.
I love it, Coach. Awesome stuff, man. Congrats on all your success. It's been fun to watch your team today.
Thank you, man. Appreciate y'all.
All right, brother.
Kirby Smart's got to like what he's seeing out of Eric Gilbert. Eric Gilbert, who was one of the stars in college football as a freshman at LSU, transferred to Georgia, wasn't available to them a year ago, and now this spring has gotten himself back in great shape and could be a major contributor to what is already a loaded tight end room. They're going to whistle this dead. Great to hear Kirby on that drive and everything he was thinking about as he was watching Stetson Bennett and that offense come down the field. 23-17 our score now. Touchdown by Gilbert. And now playing quarterback is Gunnar Stockton. And Gunnar Stockton will hand off to Cash Jones. But Gunnar Stockton is a young man who was the number 4 dual threat quarterback in the country, according to ESPN.com. He went to the quarterfinals of Georgia high school ball last year, passed for over 4,000 yards, 55 touchdowns. In his career in high school, passed for over 13,600 yards as he finds Jones out of the backfield. So halfway through this third quarter, in comes Gunnar Stockton.
How much your voice meant to your teammates around you. You were the quarterback of that defense. Who's the next guy that's going to try to fill the shoes of Nakobe Dean?
We got a lot of guys on that defense that's stepping up, and they've been playing lights out this spring. They keep on getting better. I don't want to say no names. I don't want to put no pressure on nobody, but they know who they are. They know the other linebackers who in there working. And I feel like I got complete trust in all of them as far as the work they've been putting in and how better they've been getting.
You'll be wearing a different uniform here soon. What will you miss most about your time here at Georgia?
The people, meeting everybody, all the relationships I was able to make here. Of course I won a national championship, but the people, all the relationships I was able to make here from athletic and academic standpoint.
I'm just so happy for him and for all the people associated with this program.
Beck with time, and he gets it complete as he goes to Kearis Jackson.
Tess, I'm actually offended that you didn't mention the homemade blondie brownie that they serve at Chuck's.
Are we done ordering it? I think we ordered 2 or 3 for the table last night. Greg, you also went through what Stetson Bennett now has to go through, and that's coming back to play a season of college football after winning a national championship.
And Stetson
is never going to be a guy that gets complacent. That's just not how he's built. Want to know why? Because no one's ever given him a compliment. I mean, the guy is constantly still trying to prove himself. He still has a chip on his shoulder, feeling as though, man, what more can I do to be accepted? And I love him. I think he's a great story. And on a team full of superstars, it's cool to know that their quarterback comes from humble beginnings and had to earn it. Nothing was given to Stetson. Everything's been earned, and he's taken advantage of every opportunity he's been afforded. And he's the first national championship winner here in 4 decades. And there's been some really talented quarterbacks that have worn this uniform in the last 41 years, and the first one to bring one home was Stetson Bennett.
End of 3 here in Athens.
But I want to see the chemistry between quarterback and wide receiver, and we've seen a lot of it today.
Vandegrift is able to connect with Dejon Edwards. Brock Vandegrift, who is the local big-time recruit, star in the waiting. He was an early enrollee a year ago, did see some limited action in last year's G-Day game. Kirby Smart has talked about how much growth there has been with both Beck and Vandegrift.
And how much growth is still to come, right? I mean, we can talk about where Beck is and where Vandegrift is and where Gunnar Stockton is, but these guys are really still extremely young. And this is not an easy offense to digest and run efficiently. This offense demands a lot of the quarterback position from a decision-making standpoint, from an adjustment standpoint, from a footwork standpoint. So it's understandable that maybe there's some growing pains early, but when the light goes on, you see that trajectory and that potential. So a lot of opportunity still to grow for both Beck and Vandegrift throughout not just the rest of this spring game, but also throughout summer and fall camp.
Edwards on 3rd and 2. And Edwards is right near that line to gain. Williams with the tackle. 2nd and 10. Brock Vandegrift, crossing route complete to Blaylock. Right at that line to gain, and that will move the chains when he came to LSU to start his college career. 2nd and 2, down to the 1-yard line as he goes to Blaylock. So now, to your point, Brock Vandegrift gaining confidence.
Yeah, really nice throw here on the move. Perfectly thrown on the body, and a great job there by Blaylock, getting that right foot down for the completion. It's great to see Blaylock getting close to 100% again, and hopefully he'll reach that potential here in 2022.
Savon Clark, he is taken down, tackled for a loss. That was Nazir Stackhouse. And Nazir Stackhouse, he's a guy we focused in on when you visited with Kirby yesterday, Greg, and he said, listen, he's one of the guys who had the furthest to go in developing, but has gone the furthest in developing this spring.
Yeah, and much like the conversation we had about the quarterbacks, still a relatively young guy. I know it sounds crazy, but you see junior next to his name. Yeah, but he had a COVID year, so that stunted the growth of a lot of the young players. So now you look at what he's now becoming. The light's starting to go on, and the opportunity will be there for him in the fall.
And the other thing is, anytime you have any of these conversations about the defensive linemen and you say, oh boy, this guy hasn't hit the field yet. Okay, Trayvon Walker was on the field. Jordan Davis was on the field. Devontae Wyatt was on the field.
Right. And there have been a lot of guys. For every guy that bursts onto the scene and has a game-changing, super elite, true freshman year as a defensive front player, a la Will Anderson at Alabama, there's 3 or 4 guys that it takes a few years for them to get comfortable. Trayvon Walker's a great example. Took a couple years and then, boom, became one of the best players at his position and potentially one of the top picks in the NFL draft.
At 1st and goal at the 1 after the completion of Blaylock, and now 3rd and goal, and that is incomplete as he was trying to connect with Edwards out of the backfield.
I don't know if that got tipped or what, but it's like Vandegrift just tried to get that ball out way too quick. He threw it before his receiver was even looking at him, and because he rushed it, he was off the mark, setting up a 4th and goal.
16th play of this drive, and it comes on 4th and goal. Vandegrift backing up and unable to haul it in. That was Jackson Meeks who was the intended target. So it'll be a turnover on downs inside the 10-yard line. Take a short break. When we come back, we're going to take a look at the schedule and how Greg thinks things could shape up for the Dogs. It's the Chick-fil-A kickoff game in Atlanta. You really look through that schedule, Greg, and you examine things, and you understand where some of the classic rivals are as a program, the situation that's going on at Auburn, the new coaching staff at Florida. And obviously, you're dealing with the national champions. You're dealing with a loaded, ultra-talented roster. But that is a manageable slate.
It is. And the East, for the most part, relatively manageable. I think there's 3 potential slip-ups. Got to be careful. At South Carolina, early in the season, Spencer Rattler at South Carolina. Obviously, that roster, that nucleus of talent for Shane Beamer and his staff, not what it needs to be, likely to knock off at Georgia. But if Georgia's still trying to find themselves there in week number 3, it's a tricky place to go play, and one that rivalry has been odd in years past. And then you look back at the slate in November, very difficult. At Mississippi State, always a tough place to go play. It'll be ringing loud. Mississippi State might be their last surge at that point to try to get to bowl eligibility. So I think Mississippi State could have some ups and downs this year. Then at Kentucky. Kentucky, however, even though I think you could make a strong argument they're the second best team in the SEC East, I don't think they're the type that's really built to take advantage of what Georgia has at times struggled with. Kentucky's not going to air it out and throw it all over the yard and use tempo. They're going to try to grind you out and run the ball down your throat. So I don't love the matchup for Kentucky, but still a difficult game for Georgia to go up there where it's likely going to be freezing in mid-November and to play in what should be a very hostile environment.
And just to get back to that Oregon game for a moment, that's the first matchup between Georgia and Oregon since 1977. Chick-fil-A kickoff game. Oregon's first appearance in the Chick-fil-A kickoff game. But to your point as to the way the season ends in November, at Mississippi State, at Kentucky to finish out SEC play. Of course, the rivalry against Georgia Tech at the end of the year on November 26th. But the first time that Georgia will finish SEC play with back-to-back road games since 2008. Always a little tricky with back-to-back road games deeper into the season. A short break, and then we will come back to Athens. A lot of takeaways from today's spring game here at Georgia, but one of the big ones is the return of Arik Gilbert.
And he's been terrific. In the red zone, they've featured him multiple times. He has 2 touchdowns, but he's also drawn 2 pass interference penalties inside the 20. He's been really effective in the passing game, so I'm very optimistic about what contributions he might make here in the fall alongside really capable tight ends as well in Brock Bowers and Darnell Washington.
Vandegrift goes for 28 yards there. We've seen Stetson Bennett. We've seen Carson Beck at quarterback. Brock Vandegrift getting extended time. Even a flash of Gunnar Stockton, the early enrollee. And Vandegrift looks to close things out. And also interesting with Gilbert is we've mentioned that Brock Bowers and Darnell Washington not in action dealing with injuries. They'll be back this summer. 3 minutes to play here. First down for Vandegrift. But what an opportunity by not having those guys around, just the pure number of reps that he's been able to get.
Oh, 1 million reps. And to get him back comfortable running, like Katie referenced earlier, he's got to drop some weight. Still not quite where he needs to be physically, but another 3 or 4 months, if he can get back to who he was coming out of high school, there's no telling what this tight end room might look like and how many problems they could potentially be for opposing defenses in the SEC.
Moments ago, you just saw Oscar Delp, the true freshman tight end. He has been very good today as
Not
well.
to be outdone.
No.
He's going to be a factor, I would imagine, as well, assuming he's willing and capable to put his hand in the dirt and block at the end of the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, right now, he's 225 pounds on that 6'5" frame, but you stick around in the strength and conditioning program of an SEC school, and all of a sudden, 225 becomes 250 in a matter of months.
Weeks, in some cases.
Yep.
I think there'll be a lot of buzz coming out of this about Carson Beck and how he has shown enough. I haven't seen enough from him. I mean, he did great in the first half of the G-Day game against the second-string offense. I don't think the gap's closed between him and Stetson Bennett for me. But the one massive takeaway that I have is that I thought it was a 2-horse race potentially in the tight end room, and now is a 3-horse race with the emergence of Eric Gilbert.
Think about some of the great position rooms in college football. There have been loaded position rooms in college football through the years. You think of Alabama with the running back room they've had through the years, but this Georgia tight end room, as it stands right now, it is loaded. It is overflowing with talent. Third and goal for Vandegrift. He's trying to find Jackson Meeks in the corner of the end zone.
The one question I have is, how can you possibly justify, if Eric Gilbert continues with his progress, how can you justify being in any personnel grouping that doesn't have 3 tight ends on the field? I mean, it's almost like
as some
unthinkable.
around the program would say, if you put 3 tight ends on the field, you may be putting a lot of wide receivers into the transfer portal.
Right. And that's understandable in today's day and age. I get that. But if you're really trying to create stress on the opposing defense, tight ends are a nightmare, and you have 3 that could potentially be major matchup issues.
32-yard field goal by Podlesny. You know, that is the reality of the college football we're dealing with right now, though. Guys looking for starts, guys looking for reps, guys wanting to know how many catches I'm going to get, how many times the ball is coming my way. And even though you look at this roster, listen, if you're managing the roster and you got Bowers and Washington and Gilbert, why not?
Yeah, right. I mean, if I were Todd Monken and I were calling the plays and I were putting together the plan, I would live in 3 tight end personnel. 13 personnel, 23 personnel, you name it, I would live in it. I think they have really nice complementary pieces at their wide receiver spots.
Stetson Bennett with time. And it's bouncing around before finally it is picked off. That was Marshall who was able to secure it.
Let's take a look at the location of the throw. It's just thrown too far to the left. So he's trying to find it. The intended wide receiver, the receiver's left, I guess. The quarterback's right. Trying to throw it away from the defender, and the ball drifted just a little bit towards the defender. It gets batted up over the middle of the field, and more often than not, that's going to result in an interception. So a difficult one there for Stetson Bennett, just off the mark on one of those throws over the middle of the field, and he's been pretty dialed in on those throughout the course of the game. Carson Beck will continue to improve, and when he gets his chance, I think he'll be fantastic. But Stetson's still my guy if I'm Kirby Smart or if I'm wearing red and black on a Saturday-by-Saturday basis.
Vandegrift has done this now 2 times where he is free to get those wheels going as he runs for a first down. But, you know, let me say this about that conversation because I laugh because it's so true. This is what I love about our league, though, is the passion, the scrutiny, the intensity, and how much the fans watch every little thing. That the 2 of us know as we step into this booth thing, that anything that Carson Beck does is going to be reacted to that way. When here you have the guy who is the offensive MVP of the Orange Bowl, the guy who goes slays Alabama as the offensive MVP of the national title game, the guy who with the game on the line throws two fourth-quarter touchdowns to win the national championship. And yet you knew when we stepped in the booth today, Carson Beck would do something that would possibly create that reaction.
Right, of course. But if your coach is going to harp, so what's next, right? So what's next is like the mantra of the most successful programs in college football. It's like, hey, man, great, we won, awesome. So what's next? That's what Ohio State says. That's what Georgia says. That's what Alabama says. That's what Clemson has. So what's next? I think the fans have adopted that mindset as well, and I'm not mad at them for it. Their passion and their intensity is what makes this league amazing and why it's the best, I think, in college football.
Well, everything means everything. Incomplete as he was trying to connect with Arian Smith. Arian Smith has been an All-America in track here at the University of Georgia, who opened up this game on the receiving end of a 60-yard completion as Carson Beck's first pass of the game.
Either way, though, I think you could say now, though, Tess, is with Vandergrift and with Stockton's development, Carson Beck's emergence, and what Stetson Bennett did last year, quarterback is not a concern for Georgia. Like it used to be, well, can we win the national championship without superstar quarterback? The answer is yes.
Yeah, you just did it.
Without question, you just did it. But your quarterback depth, still very good. And JT Daniels' departure to West Virginia did not leave an empty cupboard. They have plenty of good pieces still that would back up Stetson Bennett in the event of an injury or in the event of his absence. They have capable guys that have grown an awful lot in the last 12 months that can now step in and play winning football for Kirby Smart in this offense.
In the country. Yes, coaching. Yes, culture. Undoubtedly, player development. But when you're developing diamonds to begin with, that's a good start.
Yes. When you have guys that are there that have tools, you're in good shape. And that's been established here in Athens.
Well, the guy with the ball right now was only recruited by one FBS school, but he's been making plays like that. And here's Eric Gilbert again. Under 10 seconds, and that is complete on the outrun by Jackson. That was a good ball by Stetson Bennett.
Beautiful throw here on the back shoulder, slot fade, and a great adjustment too. And not the way that Kearis Jackson would normally adjust to the football, because he actually turned away from it. Usually you turn back to it, never take your eyes off of it. Kearis Jackson turned over his left shoulder, still was able to reel it in. Tremendous concentration and great accurate throw there by Stetson Bennett with the game on the line.
And now Jared Zirkel will come in for the field goal with 6 seconds remaining. Try to give the black team the win. 27-yard attempt for Zirkel, redshirt sophomore from Texas. And he is able to put it through. So a great job by Stetson Bennett at the end to put them in position. And it looks like they're going to walk it off. Zeros on the board. Stetson Bennett finishes with 273 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Carson Beck, 246 yards passing, and a big day out of the tight end, Eric Gilbert. The champs are back. They'll open up against Oregon on September 3rd. For Katie and Greg and the crew, I'm Joe Tessitore. Thanks for being with us here in Athens.